On 9th February 2012, Kiran Negi was abducted while returning from work. She was taken to a village in Haryana, where she was raped. Acid was poured into her eyes, a liquor bottle was inserted in her private part, and her face was mutilated. After that, she was left there to die. Waiting for help, weakened by blood loss, in pain and misery, Kiran remained alive for 4 days before dying on the same very field where she was raped. Justice till date has not been served to the family. The judiciary and government seem to be in no hurry, even after 9 years since the incident happened. There might be many more Kiran Negis in India where justice is getting delayed, and justice delayed is justice denied. Right from the time of her birth, a girl is subjected to physical, sexual, and emotional turmoil. In a gender gap study covering 58 nations, the World Economic Forum has ranked India a low 53. The study measured the gap between men and women in 5 critical areas like economic participation, economic opportunity, political empowerment, access to education, and access to reproductive health care. The low ranking reflects the large disparity between men and women in all 5 areas of the index. Crime against women increased by 7.3% from 2018 to 2019, and crime against scheduled caste also went up by 7.3% in the same period. A total of 4,05,861 cases of crime against women were registered during the period of 2019, showing an increase of 7.3% over 2018. Majority of cases against women were registered under cruelty by husband or his relative, followed by assault on women with the intent to outrage her modesty, kidnapping and abduction of women, and rape. The crime rate registered per lakh women population is 62.4% in 2019 in comparison with 58.8% in 2018. The Constitution not only grants equality to women but also empowers the state to adopt measures of positive discrimination in favor of women for neutralizing the cumulative socio-economic, education and political disadvantage faced by them. But how far has India been able to tackle crime against women? In today's time, a girl's safety is still at risk. India remains one of the most dangerous countries in the world for women. In the past, gruesome cases of sexual assault have surfaced from all corners of the country, including abduction, gang rape, and murder. The introduction of harsher penalties for rape and sexual assault has done little to curb the means. What we required is educational and attitudinal change for assaults against women to go down. In the meanwhile, law enforcement agencies will have to come with stricter and judicial process resolved. Krishangi Sinha, Democracy News Live, New Delhi.
Good evening and welcome to Democracy News Lives That Matters. Today we are discussing a very important topic. A topic that must be on the forefront of every society. Making sure women have rights, making sure that women have equal status. The status of women has been a bane for a country like India. There are a tremendous amount of women who get harassed on the streets and in many other places. Harassment, rapes are all challenges for a society which calls itself a society with a great amount of history and cultural heritage. But if things like this are supposed to happen in societies, then societies must have a way to sort out and deliver justice. And that has been one of India's largest problems. A poor police system, beyond that, a court system that is unable to deliver and may take too long. Today, we're joined by a father first. To start with this show is Mr. Negi. Mr. Negi's daughter was brutally raped 8 years ago. He still and his family are still waiting for justice. They've been fighting tooth and nail. They've been to every court system in this country. But they continue to wait, and there isn't anything that's really happening quick enough. नेगी साहब, मैं आपसे पहले भी मिला हूं. आप बताइए कितने साल हो गए और अभी तक क्यों जस्टिस नहीं मिला है? अभी तक क्यों कोर्ट्स उन जो लड़के रिस्पॉन्सिबल थे उनको हैंग नहीं कर पाई है?
देखिए, ये अभी तक 9 साल पूरे होने जा रहे हैं. फरवरी में, अगले मंथ में जो है 9 साल पूरे हो जाएंगे. और ये दामनी से पहले का केसेस है. मतलब ये नहीं कि इस पे इतना लापरवाही, मतलब लोअर कोर्ट से फांसी का ऑर्डर हो गया, हाई कोर्ट से भी फांसी का ऑर्डर हो गया, लेकिन सुप्रीम कोर्ट में जो है इतना लटका पड़ा है. काफी समय हो गया सुप्रीम कोर्ट में. कोरोना से पहले का जो है सुप्रीम कोर्ट में ये फाइल आ चुकी है, और अभी तक इनको जो है कि फांसी का ऑर्डर नहीं सुनाया गया सुप्रीम कोर्ट से, तो मतलब क्या उम्मीद रखेंगे हम अपनी कानून व्यवस्था से? कि मतलब
So,
जो है कि
Mr. Negi's daughter was brutally raped. She suffered injuries beyond the imagination of normal human beings. Supreme Court takes an important case like this, puts it on the back burner. It's listening to cases which are really unimportant at many, many levels. These are cases around political influence we've seen in the last few months. But a case like this, where a rapist needs to be sent to the gallows while the whole family waits. They've already gotten two orders, and it's almost 9 years. And the Supreme Court doesn't take caution and says, "Do we need to handle this first?" It's unbelievable that the Supreme Court's been hearing cases with an advanced one-day notice because there was political pressure, but they won't hear the case of a family that's going and fighting for getting these rapists to the gallows. जब आप देखते हैं नेगी साहब कि जो अलग अलग केस, छोटे मोटे केस जो कोई पॉलिटिकल पार्टी के लोगों से कनेक्टेड होते हैं, उनको फटाफट एक एक दिन में जगह मिल जाती है सुप्रीम कोर्ट में, पर आपका इतना इम्पोर्टेंट केस को नहीं मिलती, आपको गुस्सा आता है क्या?
बिल्कुल गुस्सा आता है जी, कानून व्यवस्था पर गुस्सा तो आएगा ही। हमारी जो है कि बच्ची गई है हमारे आंखों के सामने यार, हमें आज 9 साल होने जा रहे हैं, हमको अभी तक न्याय नहीं मिला सुप्रीम कोर्ट से, तो मतलब गुस्सा तो अपना भी है, वो तो जाहिर है। और
जो
हम तो ये जी
जो जिस तरीके से, और आपकी बेटी अकेली नहीं है, ऐसी बहुत बेटियां हैं जिन्हों के साथ ऐसा व्यवहार होता है, जिनके साथ ऐसे उल्टे सीधे इंसिडेंट्स होते हैं। आपको लगता है कि हम हिंदुस्तानी समाज में कोई गड़बड़ है कि ऐसे इंसिडेंट्स बार बार हो रहे हैं, इतने सारे हो रहे हैं? आप एक फादर हैं, आपने तो इसको सफ़र किया है, आपके तो लड़का भी है। आपको लगता है कोई समाज में गड़बड़ी है?
समाज में भी गड़बड़ी है और कानून व्यवस्था में भी गड़बड़ी है, और अगर हमारी कानून व्यवस्था अगर सही हो तो ये क्राइम रुक जाए ऑटोमेटिकली। लेकिन हमारे जो है कि जो राजनेता हैं उनमें वो इन चीजों में लिप्त है, इसलिए इतनी जल्दी वो नहीं होता है कि मतलब वो उसको इतना मतलब गौर नहीं करते हैं। केस चलते रहते हैं, पेरेंट्स खत्म हो जाते हैं, केस खत्म नहीं होते हैं, और जो है न्याय नहीं मिलती है। हमारा कानून व्यवस्था बहुत गलत है। हम तो ये चाह रहे हैं कि हैदराबाद में जो हुआ था सो अच्छा हुआ था, और ऐसे ही होना चाहिए आगे, जब भी क्राइम रुकेंगे जी।
So what Mr. Negi is talking about is Hyderabad में जो हुआ था ठीक हुआ था. It pretty much was a serious issue where a girl was raped by 4 men, but uh, all the rapists were shot in the middle of the night. The accusation that people had against the police is it was a custodial killing. But at the same time, when people have to wait 9 years to get justice, then they begin resorting to ideas that maybe custodial killing is a great way of actually running a society. But that possibly is not the right way of doing it. I don't agree with that approach, but at the same time, it is important to understand that if law is not delivered, then people are going to begin taking law in their own hands. नेगी साहब, आपकी आवाज़ हम उठाते रहेंगे जब तक सुप्रीम कोर्ट अपना फाइनल रूलिंग नहीं दे देता। आपकी फैमिली के ऊपर बहुत बुरी बीती है और किसी के साथ भी ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए। हमारे साथ जुड़ने के लिए बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया। To continue this discussion, I'm joined by two people today. One is Yogita Bhayana. She's an activist. She's fought for many abused women. And also joining us is Mr. Yashovardhan Jha. He's an ex-IPS officer. He's a former IPS officer and certainly one of the people who has been at the forefront and he's seen it with his own eyes. First of all, let me bring in Yogita. Yogita, explain to me what's happening in this country? Why there are tremendous amount of women who get raped, abused, and still nothing really happens. It continues. The numbers are growing. It's not as if, with the awareness and with the reporting now, the numbers are decreasing.
So, Rohit, first of all, thank you for taking this sensitive topic up, and you've been doing it quite a lot. And we've been discussing this for many, many years now. Since the time Nirbhaya happened, actually, the discourse started, but we have not come to any uh, conclusion in the sense of we have not seen any changes on the ground. Why? The reason is very simple. It's a mindset issue. It is something to do with the mindset and the social fabric of our society, and we are heading in the wrong direction. So whole focus is on telling the women what to do, what not to do, self defense and all these things. These are good, I'm not denying that, but who will address the right audience, which is men of our society, men of our country? And no focus is there, no trainings, no sensitization. So we heard about gender sensitization in every sphere of life, but I also do these classes, but only for the officers or for the police. But how about the men? How about the schools? How about dropouts? I mean, these are the potential criminals basically. How do we perceive our women in this country, in this society? I think that will only change once that thinking will change, and that thinking will change with a long lot of efforts. Unfortunately, if you look at our parliament, you will see the record how many I mean, people with the allegations are sitting there. I'm sorry to say, but our people with allegations are serving us. I mean, they are leading us rather. So, I mean, we have to really introspect, like how to bring about a change. The change will
So,
only come once
so
it has to start from
what you're
grassroots.
saying? So what Yogita, you're saying is education is missing, gender sensitization at the true level is missing from right from nursery school all the way going up, and within families it's missing because of that. Well, I want to just touch
Yes.
one quickly upon one more thing before I go to Mr. Yashovardhan. Now you saw Mr. Negi and his daughter's case. Obviously, they've been fighting tooth and nail for 9 years now, and still the Supreme Court is hearing all kinds of bizarre cases which don't need to be heard, trying to protect political, people, but they do not rule on a case which is so important. Now, Mr. Negi's daughter's case is a case India should be ashamed of. She was brutally murdered, physically abused, and then obviously died on the itself. Explain to me why has no action been taken? Does the government of India need like a whole protest again for it to happen to take action, or is it willing to then ask the judiciary to take action?
So I've been saying that there's not only one Nirbhaya. Okay, Nirbhaya became the light of the day in the sense people related to that case. But every single day we hear about such cases. And this particular case of Kunwar Singh Ji's daughter, I've been with them for so many years. It happened few months before Nirbhaya, and hanging was given in lower court and high court. Supreme Court, it was supposed to go before Nirbhaya. Why do we only see cases when they are like media trial or where the protest happened? They get little attention in the sense that people, even judiciary tend to give attention to it. Everybody tend to give attention to it, which is a good thing. But what about this poor man? He did not even get compensation from the government. He still works as a security guard. He doesn't even know when his hearings are, because of course state is the party to it. I mean, they are not even informed. If a person like me was not there, I mean, they would not even get to know what level the case has reached. In Supreme Court for last 4 years, I've been writing through my pro bono lawyers friends, but there is no light. Before lockdown, this case got opened. Then again, only after 3 hearings, that too, just went on. I think it was going in I mean, I would say wrong direction, in the sense they are not in a mood to give hanging. And right now we have written to them a month ago, filed a petition from parents side to for early hearing. They can hear all sorts of cases. They can open the court for some people, midnight. But this girl who lost her life, it was equally brutal like Nirbhaya. They don't have time for such cases. I mean, I feel ashamed that I live in this country. I feel I am openly telling you I have no faith in judiciary. I have no faith in law and justice system of our country, because if this it has to be on a autopilot mode. The justice should be for
Correct.
everyone, not for
And it
that
should
you
be
have
the
to beg
same
for
for everybody. It
justice.
cannot be.
Everyone.
Absolutely.
So I
The
feel very
Supreme Court
sad
has
for these
certainly
people.
shown. Yeah, what I can't
Yes.
understand is why is, you know, hearing a political case more important than actually hearing the case of a family who's waiting for a hanging judgment on how brutally their daughter was killed. Unbelievable. Mr. Jha, you've been in the police service and you've seen certainly a lot of crime right in front of you, and you've taken action. Explain to me what's missing. And you know, it's easy to point fingers at people and say police should do this, the judiciary should do this. What's missing, and why this crime against women, whether it's rape, whether it's abuse, whether even just troubling of women, where is India going wrong?
There are two aspects to it. One, of course, which Yogita was referring to, the attitudinal problem, which is very, very deeply entrenched in the minds of Indian men. And that's a separate thing which we have to tackle in a different manner. But the other part is where we can take action. Uh, I will divide it into three parts. One is the reaction of the police, the investigation. Second is the prosecution of such cases. And third is the most troubling, as you said, trials which go on and on and on, and ultimately which leads to no justice at all because of the delay. It's a tragic case. I would certainly feel that if you talk in terms of statistics, I mean, even America is troubled by rape cases, and if you see the statistics, I think 2018 represented an increase over 2017. But the issues in India are a little different. You know, we are fighting something which is really a huge issue. The police initially, definitely there should be gender sensitization, there should be training, etc. But mind you, the biggest problem which is taking place in the society or the police is that the offenses which should be taken immediately and very strongly are wished away. So stalking is not an issue with the police or society. They feel it's a very ordinary thing and the girl is complaining a little too much. And these are things which build up. And therefore, I remember from my experience, you know, stalking around colleges, stalking outside schools, stalking in the metros, these are serious issues the police needs to take up. Now, there are two ways to handle it. One is your response system, how you are building up the infrastructure of the police in terms of CCTV, etc., and you know, alarm system, and a lot of things have been done too. But the second, the most important, is how the police itself reacts to it. In metros, you have a system, at least some kind of system has been put in, and there have been tremendously good police commissioners who have reacted to this kind of things. But it's the last, you know, the huge swaths in the countryside where there is actually no system of reportage or any kind of response. And this is here you have the largest system, the largest number of cases which are being reported but being ignored. Look at the Hathras case. Look at, you know, so many cases from Muzaffarpur and my Bihar. And this is where they are being ignored. How do we tackle
Sure,
it? Now,
sure.
there was a
No,
roadmap. Yes,
no,
you were
and,
saying
and
something.
I see your point. What you're saying, obviously, is ignoring these issues is the problem in itself to start with, because you know we don't tackle them early on as an issue, and I recognize that. And I obviously Yogita's point around, you know, the training in itself, but I also see one of the big challenges has come, and this is a specific India issue and maybe a South Asia issue if you want to look at it like that, that the political setup controls the police structure. It was supposed to be entirely separate structures. It cannot be a controlling structure. Yesterday, I was traveling on a highway. There was a car that took over me. There was a man with a gun, the police guy, and there was another vehicle at the back where the politician was traveling. And they were literally shoving me on the side on the road where I was driving as well because they wanted to go fast. And I couldn't believe it. And I said, do we pay the wages of that? Does my tax pay for the wages of that policeman who's sitting and he's got no role, because this man is not being killed by anybody for sure. Nobody's interested in killing this man, and who's sitting in a black car with dark windows. I don't even know if it's official, because I was told that all of this was gone away. If there was somebody so high target, then they rather be in a bulletproof car and rather, than shoving me on the side of the road. So the police has been utilized and used for doing all of these other things, and that is when political protection is provided to people. For example, the Hathras case, we clearly saw there was political protection provided to the people. But then when the investigations happened and there's been so much of media noise, that's when they said, oh, okay, well, it was a rape, it wasn't, or it was a gang rape. So you're right that there is a structural problem as well, and I certainly see a structural issue. So, Yogita, how do we proceed? And honestly, we keep continue doing these shows, but we seem to see no action on the ground. Nothing is changing. Numbers are going up. Where do we start? It has to be a process around this. Like, the police cannot continue staying under the little tutelage of the political setup, which continues to use it for its own purposes.
So there are many aspects, like it's not a overnight solution, or it's not a one magic solution for this kind of a gruesome crime which is called rape or sexual violence. I mean, it has to be series of efforts from all spheres of life, like from society, from government, from everyone. And everybody has a role to play. I mean, it has to be a movement. Like I always say, like you did GST overnight, you did demonetization overnight, you did surgical strike. I mean, this has to be taken as an agenda of utmost importance. I don't know why our governments are not even serious about it. I am appalled that they take love jihad as serious as they have implemented the laws and they have arrested so many people. I wish they had vision for curbing the sexual violence, to stop rapes. I mean, I wish they had the same zeal and same energy to do this rather than doing love jihad. So their focus is also not there. Society per se, we know the social fabric. So it's a very tedious and a long battle. But like I have been running this campaign, which through your show I would like to also reach out to people, that we want our parliamentarians to dedicatedly discuss this issue of women's safety in parliament without any interference across party line, at least for 2 days in a year. Maybe when they discuss, they might come out with solutions as their part. Okay, I'm not only blaming the government, they need to do their bit. So they need to discuss the implementation part. There are a lot of laws, I'm not denying that they're not there, they are there, but implementation is the issue. So maybe when they discuss, they come out with some solutions. They also have daughters at home, maybe better secure, not like ordinary girls, but yes, somehow everybody feel unsafe in this country. Second part is society. Yes, society has to be blamed equally. So we need to also introspect. As a mother of a son, even I have to tell my son how to behave with the women. So likewise, in every strata of society, this change has to come, mindset change, for which my organization is also actively working. Not only we support the survivors, we also do these awareness programs. And now that across India we have volunteers, we are doing this only. We are reaching out every house, and we are doing this sensitization of telling the boys, टॉक टू योर सन्स, अपने
Absolutely,
बेटों को
absolutely.
समझाओ और बेटी को
And
बचाओ. बेटी को पढ़ाओ और बेटी को बचाओ तो बाद में होगा, पहले बेटों को समझाओ तो बेटी को बचाओ. So we need to change
so
the slogan. I think maybe that
Well,
will
I
bring
think
out
I think
option.
the I think the mindset change is required just for a number. 8% of all children are actually abused. Number that shocks anybody and everybody in society. Which means when you talk about some people kids, they are even not protected. Boys and girls are both unprotected. As they grow up,
Yes.
the violence against women obviously goes up. But there are a lot of these men who've also been sexually abused. So that's to ponder over. Mr. Jha, uh, going towards the closing, what are your views, especially on the police side? Where do you think, if you were, to ask to make the first few changes, where would you do that?
I would, in fact, refer to what you had said earlier, and I was very happy you brought up that point. It's about the police reforms which have been pending with the various states for about 14 years now. And this is despite the Supreme Court directives in this regard. And the first thing which I would say is that unless you have fixity of tenure for the police officers who are honest, upright, and at key positions, it's very difficult for them to function at all. With the frequent transfers which are happening in the various states, it's become an absolute nuisance. Let me tell you another thing. When the police is pushing for a budget, for things on the reform side, whether it is in the form of infrastructure. Take, for example, a very simple case. One thing which is crippling in the system is that how you react without a good forensic backup. And one of the reasons why these rape cases are failing is because we don't have the adequate backup in every police stations. And I'll give you an example. Nirbhay funds were given to all the states from the Home Ministry and the Ministry of Women and Welfare. And do you know that even after 7 years, only 30% was utilized? The parliament standing committees and the various members of parliament do not take interest in such cases. They only take interest when a highly publicized rape case comes up, so that then they go and abuse the police. Therefore, without having the adequate police infrastructure, without having the adequate police budget, do you know that the security budget in the state is absolutely abysmally low, because more goes into subsidies, etc. And therefore, the police programs are not funded, and especially when they are towards such social causes, you're bound to have these results, because changing the society will take time. But in the meantime, we need proper investigation, we need a good prosecution system, and we need trials which take place in time, so that our aim of giving a conviction in a rape case should be done within a year, and which has been done in states like Madhya Pradesh.
Good. So I think good points. What's required is, first of all, attitudinal change. It'll be education. What's required is police reform. It has to be done on the political level. The Supreme Court has ordered it, but obviously Indian Supreme Court seems to be a very weak institution right now. That needs to certainly be seen, that there is a change in the police reform, which means the police should be out of control. 3, an independent investigation agency to monitor the honesty of the police officers. One of the big challenge areas, and people like Mr. Jha have kind of highlighted that. Many other officers, honest officers we've met over the years, have highlighted that, but only the corrupt seem to be going up, because they are the ones who go from one political party to the other, and those are the people who come into power into different cases. They're utilized for running political agendas, and that's where the big change is required in India as well. But to start with, India needs to change within. Education, 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 to get over abuse of women, both sexually, mentally, physically. So that's where we're going to end this show today. It matters to society to change yourself, to make sure you have an equitable society, you have a society which respects its citizens, men, women, transgender, all of them alike. Thank you for joining me. Good night and good luck.